Steve, you have now met with all the guys. The exit interviews go well?
Yeah, they're bittersweet. I put a catchphrase up on my whiteboard, so when the players walked in, they had a chance to see it, and it said, "Don't cry that it's over, smile that it happened," and something that come from a Dr. Seuss quote. And I think it's important that we do smile a little bit, that as much as it's disappointing that we didn't reach our ultimate goal, that the players can sit back and recognize it was a unique season. As you well know, Todd, it was a close-knit group of players. We had a lot of success on and off the ice this year, and although we didn't reach our final goal, I think we can look each other in the eye and say that our team got better and our players got better.
You talk about that close-knit feeling, and it comes from the top, but so I asked the players over the course of today, have you been on a team like this before? And none of them said yes. So has it come from you, and have you been on a team like this before?
Well, I think when you have success, teams just become closer. They start to trust that, yeah, we can win as a group, and I think success breeds success, and we had a lot of that this year on the ice. So I think that, for myself, I've had a few opportunities, obviously with some Memorial Cup opportunities to have teams like this, but it started from day one when we went up north to the Muskokas, where myself, Derek Gord, Stevie Stais, Mark Phelan got together and decided we want to try to make this as positive a work environment as we could make it, because coming into the season, we didn't know how this team was going to play. So we came in very positive, and we try to keep that identity throughout the season.
Do you think the fact that this is such a younger group helped, the team dynamic and helped them all get together?
I think it does. I think for the older players and the veteran guys, they can't help but appreciate some of the youthfulness of a Levo or a McKegg or a Percy or a Granberg, and I think that helped in a lot of different ways. And the nice thing now is the bar is going to be raised for next year. I like the group that we have coming back. I'm excited about free agency now to try to become part of that process and seeing which players we can bring back into the Marley organization. But it's going to be an exciting summer for all of us. But I'm excited that next year we can hit the pavement running, where they don't know who I am, I don't know who they are. Now you've eliminated those excuses. We can get to work right off the bat next year. They know the systems that are in place, and we can hit the ground running. So I'm excited about that.
When you look at the success that you had over the course of the playoffs, and you see a player like Peter Holland, he clearly is so ready for the next step.
He is. It's an important summer for Peter. One thing Brendan Shanahan, Dave Nonis, Dave Poole, and Claude Lazelle have said is, they want these players pushing for opportunities next year, and Peter is one of those players that has to now take that next step in his development. He separated himself, in my mind. He challenged me going into the playoffs, that he wanted to be our go-to forward, and for my mind, he answered all of those tests, and he separated himself, and now I'm excited about his summer and seeing how he does at the MasterCard training, and then obviously going into training camp next year, that he earns a full-time position with the Leafs.
How difficult is it to leave a team like this behind, a team that is just so good and such a good group together?
Yeah, I'd like them all back. I'd like to just take two months off here and then start with the same 20 guys, but I don't think they want to be at the Marlies. I think they all want to be in the National Hockey League, and that's where they strive to be. But you know what, if we do have a bulk of these guys back, Todd, it's going to be great, because I think the atmosphere in this room will be infectious. They know what we like as a coaching staff and what we demand as a coaching staff. So we'll try to make sure we bring in the right people that fit into our group. I think now we have a true team identity and a culture here, and we'll just continue to build on that.
Well, I'll give you my final question of the year anyway. So your coaching staff, what has it meant to you to have Derek King, Gordon, and the rest of the guys as well?
Well, Dallas Eakins is the guy that 12 months ago told me to stay with those guys, and I went through an interview process with them, and the best advice, it is clearly the best advice I've got, was from Dallas Eakins to keep Gordon, keep Derek King, and I'm glad I took that advice. Steve Stais, Bobby Carpenter, who was with us earlier in the season to help work with our centermen, Piero Greco, Mark Phelan, and then all of our trainers and our equipment people. I couldn't have asked for a better support staff. And this isn't one man, this is everybody. It's all hands on deck, and from you guys from Leafs TV and everybody involved, it was a great year, and we definitely look forward to 2014 and doing this again next year.
For the players that will be returning, what are you hoping that they do over the offseason to make themselves into better players for next year?
Well, that's specific. That's why we just had those meetings where each guy is given his own specific plan and what our expectations are of each individual athlete. Some need to work with Barb Underhill, some need some skill development with the puck, strength and conditioning. There's a whole host of individual things that they need to work on. But you know, for me, for our guys specifically, it's now getting some rest. It's been a long season. It was 95 games when you go back to London at the rookie tournament. So it's getting some rest and then getting back into the gym at the MasterCard and looking forward to next season.
You mentioned that it's been 95 games. It wasn't really something that a lot of people expected for you guys to go this far. How happy are you with the end result?
Well, it's still raw. You know, again, I don't want to take anything away from St. John's or from Wilkes-Barre, but you know, I think, you know, we had two pretty darn good teams in the Western Conference Final in the Game 7, and it's hard now knowing that you're not going to have a chance to vie for a Calder Cup because you're that close. And as a coach, sometimes you're a glass half empty type person. You don't know if you'll ever get back there. So it's still a little bit raw. I'm sure a couple of weeks from now I'll sit back and have an opportunity to reflect on the season, maybe be a little bit more positive. But I'm pleased with the development of the players, and ultimately that's how I'm going to be evaluated. And I'm pleased that we had a number of guys play in Toronto this year for the Leafs, and hopefully there'll be more starting in September.